Dan Bellamy from Inflatable Stories here, blown up stories sharing life's biggest truths. Today, I thought you might enjoy a tour of some of the balloon pumps that I've used through the years. I got my start with a balloon pump not so different from one that you might find at the store. Now, this one's better than you might find at one of your standard chain stores, but it is a good pump and it's an inexpensive pump. It blows two ways, just like that. Not a bad pump at all, and not very different from a hand pump you might buy today. It's got this little blunt tip on it, and that's really the only difference from a pump that I started using not much later, and you can still buy the exact same thing. Another two-way pump, got a little bit of an angle on the tip, but otherwise, exact same thing. You take it, you slide the balloon on the end of the pump, whoop, and then you've got a blown up balloon. So a lot of fun. Now another little hand pump that I've discovered that I use occasionally. It's not my favorite, but it is handy in two things. One, it's easy to get your hands around. And two, it's really easy to get these small balloons on it. So these little balloons, these are thinner than the last one I inflated, harder to inflate. They'll slide on it really easily. They'll still work on that other pump well, though. So I slide it on here, and whoop, you see it's a little slower to inflate, but it's not harder to inflate. It just takes a little more time. No problem. Take this little pump, blow it right up, and this little blaster takes care of it. Now, the thing is, you can imagine with either of those pumps, if I have a line of 500 kids that I'm making balloons for I'm blowing up 300 balloons for an event, when I'm going to speak at a church, when I'm trying to get balloons ready because I'm going to teach 500 people a balloon dog at one time, I need a pump that can handle a little more. Now, the first big pump I ever bought, I bought in college, and it was this big floor pump. This is a beast. Watch it blow up one of these 260s. Been a while since I've really used this pump much, but it's still a precious treasure. And one pump inflates that whole balloon. So it's a great pump. Now, the downside to this pump, it is getting older, but the bigger thing is, I know you can't see it in a video, but this is a hefty pump. It's heavy. It's sturdy, but it is heavy. Now, the same basic pump design you'd use on that, pull up, suck in some air, push it back down, also works on this pump. Now, this pump is a Filbert pump. That was a pump one that I bought from T. Myers Magic years and years ago. The Filbert, you can see I hold this with one hand. In fact, easily with one finger. This is a great mechanical pump. And when I felt like God's movement in my life was full-time balloons, switched over to this pump for when I'm doing programs and stuff directly with people. Let's take one of these 260s on it. This is a newer pump than that one. You pull up right here, push back down, inflates it easily, weighs next to nothing, got this fancy strong tip on it, and it's my most fun balloon pump to look at. So this is a pretty fun pump. It can do a good job with lots of balloons. Take this little round smiley face here. Hey fella, take it, whoop. No problem. It's a good pump to use if I'm doing a lot of balloons and I don't have access to electricity, or I don't want to use one of my electric pumps, because electric pumps make noise. But when I'm preparing for a big job, that's when I like to go to my electric pumps. Because you can imagine, even with small balloons, if I've just plain got to inflate a few hundred balloons in a row with this pump, that is a lot of physical effort that goes into it. And if I'm preparing for a job, the last thing I want to do is get really worn out or tired of inflating balloons. So let's go to this fella. This is my Lagenda. It's a pump that's really hot on the balloon market right now, and it's really handy. So let's take one of these little thin balloons on the Lagenda. Let's see how it does it. Now this one you can set a timer. You can do all sorts of fun things on the Lagenda. We're not going to set a timer right now. I'm just going to hit the button and there you go. So it's not crazy fast, but it's pretty fast. Blows it up well, no problem. And if I want to just sit in a chair while I'm getting stuff ready, easy enough to do. Take the slightly thicker ones. These are called 260s. They're approximate width and approximate length. So we got our 260. I get these big enough for a balloon dog in, just a little over 2 seconds. Now this, if I'm inflating a lot of these, because these are your classic balloon animal balloon, this is what I'll use. Now, I'm going to sit this guy to the side, and I'm going to show you this guy, because if I'm doing a job where I've got to inflate a crazy amount of balloons, this is a great pump to have. This is why I can do a big backdrop for a job. This is why I can do the really cool stuff and have time for it, because none of these other pumps are practical if I've got to inflate 300 round balloons. They just can't do it. They got the pressure to blow them up, but they can't do the volume. They can't put enough air in fast enough. So let me show you this fella in action. You'll see these things screw on here. These pop on this tip if you need a smaller balloon to work with. It doesn't do as well with the little guys. So here, let me pull out one of these little thin balloons I was showing you. Sometimes it can inflate these. Sometimes it can't. Uh-oh. If I wanted this to inflate tiny balloons, it would be a miserable pump, because sometimes it gets it, but usually it doesn't do well. It struggles, but sometimes gets the 260s. If I give it a little stretch, it usually gets it. It tried to embarrass me. But when I go to a big balloon that would take forever on the little pumps, here, watch this. On my Lagenda, I like the Lagenda. It's a good pump. It puts a lot of air in. I've got to do this much work to fill it up that full. And the electric pump takes 10, 15 seconds to fill this up this full. So, if I put 2 of these thick balloons, that's right, I said 2, at once. One of these is a little bit pre-stretched, so they may look funny. But if I put 2 of them on here, and I push the button, which I can do with my foot because there's a foot pedal option. Awesome. Now you'll notice it kept kind of hiccuping there. That's because of another thing this pump can do. It, like the other pump, has a timer. You can even make them time for 2 different times. So I could have one at 0.7, but then I could come to the other timer and I could bump it up to a second, 1.6 seconds. So they could both do different times, which is super fun. Now, final thing that I'll show you, our big finale, the other thing that this pump can do. It can inflate 2 of these giant 3-foot balloons at once. Now these, they take about 30 seconds, but you can do 2 in 30 seconds on this. To inflate it on that other electric pump that I showed you, it takes, quite frankly, I don't know how long it takes. It takes minutes to inflate one of these. So our big finale. These can even get a little bigger. They are so fun. I just inflated 2 giant globe balloons in a matter of seconds with air. So fun. This makes balloons so much easier to work with and instant. I'm breaking stuff. Not for real though. Instant fun. So this is what I work with. This is how I make the balloon adventure happen. Hope you enjoyed a little look into my world. Take care. Enjoy some balloons today.